I have to say, Minister, I begin by saying I'm not without sympathy for Senator Boyne's position. And I have some reservations with regard to the restrictions or potential for restriction that are contained within the bill. So I recognise 100% that we need progress. We need to move with the times, but we also need to recognise that online is not accessible to everyone. And that is a fact. And when I raised that with the Minister last week, the answer that the Minister gave was that, well, his 85-year-old mother, or father a parent is online. And one instance of success does not a proper public consultation make. So I suppose only this morning I got cut off a mobile phone in Temple because the signal is bad because it's raining. Only this morning I couldn't have an image on a later call because it's raining. So I suppose there are some things that just don't happen. That online, we're not there yet. As much as the frustrations of technology and what should be happening versus the reality of what happens isn't always the same. I would bring us back, Minister, to the briefing documents that we received from the library and research here, and in it talks about the access to justice in environmental matters. It talks about the Maastricht recommendations to promote effective public consultation and for public participation in decision making on environmental matters. And in that it says online consultations can complement face-to-face public meetings and hearings, but should not replace them. And within the bill, there is a discretionary power being given without us knowing or having a reassurance as to how that discretion can be exercised. Now, I have to say, my own experience of the planners in South Dublin County Council was they couldn't be more accessible, they couldn't be more proud of their metrics on public consultation, and they keep very, very meticulous metrics on how they access and how they permit access to the public. So it's not that I come from a place of suspicion, but analogous to this, at this moment in time, we have the Bus Connects consultations going on. And they, by virtue of the pandemic, they are confined to online consultation. Each bus corridor is only getting a 90-minute public consultation meeting online. Everyone who participates is restricted to one question. And there are many, many people on calls, and it's restricted to 2 representatives of a residents' association. There are many residents that don't have, many estates that don't have residents' associations. And when they're online, many people aren't getting to speak, put their questions into the chat and get a response back. To be fair, the questions are answered, but they're not answered in a way that is taking on board the question. The answers are most unsatisfactory. So, and I'm not that I'm against it, because I'm not, but the manner of public consultation when something of an environmental impact and a whole quality of life impact is going on, that is not public consultation. It's not respectful. It's confined to 6 weeks, and it's a dramatic change to people's lives for a very, very long time. So I suppose if we were to take that as being the analogy for how public consultation, when it is restricted to an online process, how it occurs, then I would have concerns as to whether we ever will reach a bar on what is public consultation if we are leaving it at the discretion without the guidelines for how discretion are exercised being very clearly set out. And that can be done in a statutory instrument. It can be done afterwards, and I appreciate the emergency of now, but to view the lens of the future through the lens of now, and in a pandemic when we're concerned about, in my home, elderly parents who may become ill and die, are at risk in this pandemic, to view the future, because this time will pass. And what legacy are we going to be left with? Well, we'll be left with a fantastic legacy of lots of us have moved forward in terms of using technology. However, at what sacrifice? And we need to make sure that the sacrifice is minimised. And the idea of saying, as it considers appropriate, As who considers appropriate, and how is that appropriateness arrived at? What are the, my background as a lawyer is in employment law. There are very clear, the acts may say prescribe one right, but the meticulous detail of how that right is exercised between employer and employee is very clearly worked out. And there are precedents there in either in decisions or in interpretations through statutory instruments. So we need that. If there are no amendments to be accepted here, and obviously the government amendment is going to be passed, but in that we need an assurance of the guidelines and how they are going to manifest. Because a development plan is a really big deal. It's too important, and I would hope that the development plans of the future will embrace big changes, environmental changes, big changes in our infrastructure. So I certainly hope that they embrace great imagination for what our future can look like. But in order to do that, we need true public consultation. And I do hold a little concern, which I believe can be alleviated, but I do hold a concern about making sure that we don't rule out that element of meeting the public, because meeting out and having public meetings can be sometimes considered inconvenient. That's certainly how it feels at the moment with Bus Connects. It would be inconvenient and was treated as an inconvenience that just has to be gone through a box checking exercise. And that isn't okay. That is not. We are signed up to a convention on making sure that local people have the closest say in their democracy. We are signed up to that. And holding of public meetings is an important and integral element of that. So I would really seek your reassurance and seek a mechanism by which that will be exercised in relation to these amendments. Thank you, Minister.